going on, everybody? Welcome to TRB. It's the Resistance broadcast. Thank you for joining us. The base is open. You are here, and it's time to talk Star Wars, as we always do here, ahead of your 4th of July weekend here in the U.S. And wherever you are, though, we hope you are well. We are here to talk about some rumors, some news, the new animated feature for Star Wars, not feature, animated series coming back later this year, and other fun things, including your questions later in the show. Lacey, how are you? What's going on?
I'm good. I'm enjoying the summer so far, which is surprising for me because I'm not really a warm weather type of person.
Yeah.
But I've been doing a lot of stuff around the house, which is exciting. And just, I guess, reappreciating Star Wars. Like I get to go back and rewatch things now. I have a little time to breathe with it, which is nice. But
Yes.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah. I am good to go. Seeing Superman next week. Excited about that. But
Oh, right. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Fantastic Four opening in a few weeks. Pedro Pascal is leading it as Reed Richards. Do you think, you personally, but also do you think fans, like Star Wars fans, were always like concerned, like, is the movie going to do well? Is this going to do well? Do you think the performance of Fantastic Four is going to affect people's confidence, either for good or for bad, going into Mandalorian and Grogu, which will also, of course, be led by Pedro Pascal?
That's a good question. I don't think so because he's already in so many other things, especially like The Last of Us, which people loved him in. That I can't see people all of a sudden being like, I don't like him because he's in Fantastic Four. Because I can even guarantee everybody's going to see Fantastic Four. I'm not planning on seeing it in the movie theater. Are you?
Well, yeah, you know me. It's hard to get to the theater, so we're sort of putting our
Picking.
chips on Superman. Yeah,
hmm Yeah.
yeah,
So I'm going to say that people are going to see it no matter what because it's a Star Wars movie in the movie theater.
yeah.
And I know there's a little asterisk there because people didn't see Solo in the theater necessarily, and there's other stuff that people have kind of passed on TV-wise, but I think the general audience knows enough about The Mandalorian and especially Grogu, Baby Yoda, that they'll go to the theater no matter what.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I kind
Yeah.
of agree with that. Um, you make a good point. He's been in a lot of things. I didn't see, what was that, The Materialists? Did that even come out? I don't know what happened
It
with
did
that.
come out and
Oh
people
yeah.
either loved it or hated it. There was no
Oh,
like,
okay.
yeah, it was fine. It was either like people absolutely loved it or were like, this is the worst movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Pedro Pascal, like everyone loves him, but I'm still not sure if he is that sort of A-list from a box office draw perspective.
Star power.
Um,
Yeah.
yes, and Fantastic Four is Marvel, and it's sort of softly relaunching the next Avengers story. So I and Mando, it has so much around it. So I don't know that I'm going to be necessarily. I guess if Fantastic Four does great and people are talking about Pedro a lot more than the other people, that will make me feel even more confident about the Mandalorian and Grogu, I guess.
Mhm.
But I'm sort of with you in that, regardless of what happens with the success of Fantastic Four, I don't think that's going to make me worried about what happens with Mando and Grogu. So I'm sort of with you on that.
I agree.
Um, yeah, I'm curious what our listeners think. So let us know, however you prefer to get in touch with us, what you think about that with Fantastic Four, just a few weeks away. But it is time to start our first segment of the show, and we're going to hand it to Lacey to steer the ship.
I fear nothing, for all is as the Force wills it.
What kind of ship are we talking about?
Like a VCX 100.
Oh, okay. Guys, time for the Wheel of Force.
Well, what kind of ship do you want?
I don't know. I'm still like really cautious with my gigantic car driving,
Mhm.
so I guess something smaller on the smaller side.
I wouldn't call your car gigantic. It's like
It feels gigantic sometimes.
mm,
I park very
mm,
far away in every parking lot.
yeah.
Like,
Well, you used to drive like a Civic, right?
yes.
That is a big difference.
Yeah. It's
You went from
basically a minivan.
Civic to Malibu to SUV.
It's basically
Yeah.
a minivan.
Yeah.
Anyway, there are lots of ways you can support the show. We talk about it a lot. You can just, listen to us, which is obviously the first step. You can follow us on social media. You can leave a review on the audio platforms. Rate us 5 stars, please. But if you want more than that, you can head over to patreon.com/TRB podcasts. And starting at just $5 a month, you can be a part of the community there, support what we're doing here. Our dreams of being podcasters and doing events and covering things for you guys all over the place. We just got back from Japan a little bit. Oh, San Francisco and Japan. But yeah, you also get to be a part of the community and on our Discord. We just did a watch along of Indiana Jones. There's just so many other benefits of being a part of our Patreon. And that includes this segment. So you get to ask your question. There will they not, will not questions, scenarios, if you will, situationals. And you get to be a part of the show and you get a shout out. So we're kicking it off with a Patreon submission from Commander Joey. What up, Joey? How's it going, man? He asks, will Dryden Voss make an appearance in the upcoming animated series Maul Shadow Lord? I don't know why that just didn't read right to me. Maul Shadow Lord. John, what are your thoughts?
That's like when I read this question, I was like, man, I never even thought about that. Because it takes place, I think, like a year after the Clone Wars, like around there. I guess that's when it starts. I don't know how far it's gonna go.
Yeah.
So Dryden Voss should be alive. I think it would be really cool to bring some of those elements from Solo into that Maul story, because I really do think people ultimately feel that they were left hanging and left flat with the Maul thing at the end of Solo. And yes, I assume most, if not all, of this series is going to take place before Solo, and maybe it overlaps. But depending on how long the series is, Star Wars does like to jump around on timelines a lot now. I could see them dancing around close to the Solo timeline, and even if it's before, he's getting into this crime stuff, he's abandoning his Sith ways. I think it would be pretty cool if Dryden Voss popped in here so that we can add more layers to that, and will ultimately probably help us enrich how we view that character in Solo. So, you know me, Joey, I'd be all for that. So I'm going to say Dryden Voss will make an appearance in Maul Shadow Lord.
I don't want to be the Sith of this conversation, but I don't think he will. Dryden Voss will not show up. It seems like to me, as someone, as a group, collective, that really loves Solo, a Star Wars story, it seems like they're just not touching it. They don't want to go near it. They don't want to discuss it. It's just like not involved in any of their projects right now. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. But from what I understand and what I see on a regular basis, it seems like they just don't want to acknowledge Solo. I don't know why. It's really weird. So I'm going to say that they won't because Dave Filoni is involved with this small show. And I feel like he's going to drive it more to that era of Maul and less of the Solo side of Maul. Not to be the negative person, but I'm sorry, Joey.
No.
With Maul on our minds, will we ever see Maul again in live action, John?
It's tough.
It is tough.
And I think like Ray Park could definitely still do it. He is 50 now. He could definitely still do it. I also know that he's really hot and cold in terms of his and Lucasfilm's relationship, and like how he's doing away from Star Wars, and like
Yeah.
I know sometimes he gets into some trouble. I think I'm not too familiar with it. I don't follow that, but I would love for him to, but for some reason I'm feeling like now that we're getting this Maul animated series, it's becoming a lot of Maul. And like you said, they haven't touched the Solo stuff. So I think it's criminal that we're not. I mean, think about how amazing this would have been to continue all of this. But I'm just getting this, I have a bad feeling about this, that we might not see Maul again in live action. And to add a variable to this, I think multiple people have said that George Lucas's sequel treatments involved Maul being a big bad, like coming back, which would mean no
It did,
Obi-Wan
yeah.
Maul in Rebels and all that. And they did away with his treatments, so they weren't into that Maul then. Sam Witwer, somebody convinced Ron Howard to make it Maul in Solo. It might have been John Kasdan, actually. It just, I'm sort of with your theme on the last question. I just don't know that they're gonna explore it. So I'm leaning no, sadly, as much as I really, really want that.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay in line with what I said to the previous question.
Stay in the lane line.
Yeah, stay in my lane. That Maul will not turn up again, at least not anytime soon. I think they're kind of
What is the?
steering clear.
I've noticed now you've done 2 cop-outs where you're doing the whole he will not anytime soon. Like you're leaving yourself a little.
Sorry. He will not. They will not touch. Well, because I can't speak like 40 years from now where I'm like, 80 something. And I'm like, someone messages me on some random social platform with a hologram being like, hey, remember when you said this, Lacey? You're an idiot. So
Oh, please. Jeez. James used to always worry about that. He'd be like, I don't know, I got a choice to make here.
No.
Is,
I'm just joking around. I don't think they're gonna do live action Maul. I think they kind of ended it with Solo, and again, they're not going near Solo, so no, they will not. That is my easy answer. The next question comes from another Patreon submission, Major Ryan Simi. What up, Simi? It's been a while. He asks, will Grogu's voice sound similar to Yoda, or will it be something different? That is a great question. I believe Yaddle was just Bryce Dallas Howard's voice. So
yeah,
I'm going to say Grogu's voice will be its own thing. I don't think they're trying to make it the same as Yoda. I think they're the same species. They're not the same exact person. That's my quick answer. Because we don't know a lot about the species besides Yaddle and Yoda and now Grogu. So
nor should we, because George Lucas doesn't even know.
He doesn't, and he doesn't want anybody to know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Yaddle thing adds a lot of strength to that. So I agree. It was literally just Bryce Dallas Howard's normal voice. Rest in peace, Yaddle. But yeah, my head theory on Yoda talking that way, like George said, he had him speak that way so that kids would pay attention to him a little closer, because you're like, wait, what did he say? But I also think it was just like this really funny, quirky, fresh, interesting thing. But my thing of it is like Yoda was, adopted by whoever very early on before he could speak, and maybe basic wasn't his his mother tongue. So he had to learn it, but he learned it sort of like how sometimes people struggle with their second language where they bounce words over each other. Like in Spanish, when I was learning Spanish in high school, the like noun is before the verb and it's just like all switched around. So when I was speaking Spanish, I probably sounded so stupid. So my head thing is like Yoda was like learning as a second language, and it wasn't going as well for him, and he just stuck with it that way. So I think Grogu, having been around people his whole life speaking basic, that maybe he will pick up on it rather quickly, and he will have his own unique voice. And I think he needs to. I think Grogu needs to have his own identity through and through, beyond, shedding the Baby Yoda moniker. So yeah, I think he's going to have his own thing. And as you and I both have been guessing, we think that may go down in The Mandalorian Grogu.
I think you said it perfectly recently, was that it has to, because otherwise it's like, how many times are we going to do this whole baby goo goo gaga?
Yeah, we got to move the needle. Yeah.
All right, last question. We've been looking for him in each season of The Mandalorian, but now with it heading to the big screen, will Vince Vaughn appear in his good friend Jon Favreau's The Mandalorian and Grogu? I'm going to let you start. This is your thing, only because you've brought this up since season 1 of Mandalorian that it's happened. This is the season, guys. This is the season.
As far as I know, they're still really good buddies. So there has been no falling out that I have heard of.
He's been
So,
kind of MIA though.
well, he just did a new Apple TV Plus show. But yeah, like Vince Vaughn is definitely not in his like most popular right now, but they're really good friends. They came up together. They've known each other for over 30 plus years. I think we will. I think that'd be really cool. And I don't care what type of role it is, but I think it would be cool for him to cameo quickly. And I think it'd be even maybe a little cooler if he was like an alien and we don't really realize it's him until later. Like a behind the scenes photo shows him with like the alien mask on off, I mean, and him standing next to Favreau or something. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say Vince Vaughn's going to pop up somewhere in The Mandalorian and Grogu.
I'm going to say he will not. And
right.
that's out of, I don't think he's been around in the public eye, really. So that's why I don't think he will. I also think Disney will probably be like, nah, we're good.
You think
'Cause
Disney could, if Favreau's like, I want to get Vince a role in the show, considering all the people they've brought in, Lizzo, Jack Black, you think they're going to be like, no.
Yeah, but
not Vince
Lizzo
Vaughn.
and Jack Black are very Disney choices. Like, they were very like, they love Star Wars on social media. So then marketing got involved and threw them in the show. Like, that's a different conversation.
Is Bill Burr a Disney choice?
No, but that's John walked up to him, what, in a bar, he had said, and Bill Burr was like, no, I'm good. He's like, come on, man, please. So I just don't, okay, forget the Disney thing. I'm not going to use Disney as the cop-out, okay? I just don't think he will. I don't think he's
There you
interested.
go.
I don't think
All
Jon
right.
Favreau's interested in having him in there. I just don't think that's going to happen. Now, that's not to say that there won't be other cameos in this movie, because you know there's going to be, like, so many, because so many people probably called Jon Favreau and were like, I want to be in the Star Wars movie. I don't care what I am. So you're going to see a lot of those kind of J.J. Abrams, I'm a stormtrooper background things. But Vince Vaughn is not one of them.
Okay.
I'm standing by it.
A lot of conviction behind that. All right. Good.
You're welcome.
All right. What else we got?
That's it. We're ready to get into some news now.
Let's go.
It's the resistance.
Latin roots scream to us as the new villain Solitus in the Rebuild the Galaxy Lego Star Wars continuation that's arriving this September. Will introduce this new villain named Solitus, voiced by Dan Stevens, who does a lot of acting, a lot of voice acting. He was the voice of the Beast in the live-action billion-dollar Beauty and the Beast Disney remake. So,
Did you like that remake?
I didn't think it was bad. I don't like a lot of the remakes. I would say that's probably one of the better ones.
I hated Emma Watson as Belle.
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah. I get that.
They auto-tuned her voice so hard.
Oh, yeah. And you could always tell when they do the auto tune.
Yep.
But yeah, so it's coming back. It's a 4-part series. Mark Hamill, to the delight of both of us here, is returning to add some fun into the mix. But also now joining the cast, we have Ashley Eckstein, who's going to be playing if you know Lego, the Brickheads. They're very boxy. They don't look like a character that is a humanoid of any kind, but she's playing a Brickheads Ahsoka. Gaten Matarazzo, who's going to be very popular later this year with the return of Stranger Things, is back as the lead. So we're getting another round of this. Darth Jar Jar's back. Ahmed Best is back as Darth Jar Jar, which was the big reveal at the end of the first series, I believe. But Lacey, we had some fun. We had a lot of laughs with Rebuild the Galaxy last year. It's coming back in September. What are your thoughts on this news and this new villain voiced by Dan Stevens? Solitus.
I would say it's probably Solitus, right? I love Dan Stevens. I think he's fabulous. I thought, to be fair, the Beauty and the Beast, he was an amazing beast. Great singer. Awesome.
Yeah.
I first saw him in Downton Abbey. He plays Matthew Crawley. He was like
one of those guys.
the main love interest in kind of the first few seasons of Downton Abbey. That's where I first saw him. And then I found out he was doing Beauty and the Beast, and then he's been in a bunch of other stuff as well. And he's just always delivered. He's such a good actor. So I love this choice. I think he's going to be fabulous. And I think that he could be a really good villain because I've always seen him in kind of good roles. But then Beauty and the Beast, he does have that kind of darker side that then obviously he's the good guy. I loved this series. You know that when we watched it, I was all about it. I love the inside jokes. I thought it was so fun to watch. It was just a very entertaining, good time with Star Wars.
Yeah,
Which
I agree.
it didn't necessarily have to be so serious like all the other shows and movies and stuff that people turn on, that they're like, oh, I need to find every single Easter egg and every single thing, and I need to know every single lore choice and canon timeline implication. This was like, hey, all that's gone. It was very Visions for me. Like, all that doesn't matter. We're just going for it, and we're making fun of ourselves while we do it, which is typical Lego. And yeah, it was really, really good. I think it's hilarious that they're having Ashley play this weird brick Ahsoka. Like, not even
Yeah.
normal Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Do this other version, which is really funny to me because once again, it's like poking fun at the whole Ahsoka situation of Ashley being the animated version versus Rosario Dawson. I look forward to this. I think it's going to be a good time. I'm just very surprised they're dragging this out so long. Like, I thought they would have like done one part of it at this time and then another part shortly after. It seems like they kind of split it up on purpose.
Yeah. When did the last one come out? Was it a year ago? Something like that?
A while ago. Yeah, I feel like it feels like forever ago, but yeah, probably a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. I think it was like last fall. So it'll be like a year between them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. These are fun. You know, you turn off the seriousness of canon and all the continuity, and it's sort of like these things to me serve as a reminder of the fun of Star Wars, and try not to take it too seriously. You know, they can
Yeah.
do anything they want without destroying childhoods and memories, and they
It
can have a good
pokes
time
so
with it.
much fun at us though as fans, like all the stupid theories we
And
come up with
itself.
and ideas. Yeah, in itself, but I like that they definitely have some fan stuff in there that they're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, remember these stupid things you guys said online? Yeah, we're putting it in the show."
Yeah, well, they'll make like I don't know if they've done this, but they'll take a jab at fans, always misappropriating what Bothans did, and stuff like that. Like they absolutely do all that stuff, which is cool. I love the look of the new villain, hooded character, 2 double-bladed purple lightsabers. That's
Sick.
pretty interesting. First ones since Mace Windu, so we'll hear what Samuel L. Jackson has to say about that. Beyond him saying he's not dead and that he's coming back, which is not happening. But I'm looking forward to this. Late September, pop on the 4 episodes, watch them, get some good laughs. Mark Hamill, anytime he wants to incorporate his older Luke into this stuff is always fun as well. And I like that he's a good sport about it because he ultimately knows Star Wars started off as this not too high of aspirations, and they didn't take it too seriously. There was a level of campiness to Star Wars. There was very old school flashback fantasy, swashbuckling humor to it. And this stuff, again, to me serves as those palate cleansers. Like, it doesn't mean you don't love this stuff to not always take it so seriously. And that's what this is. So I look forward to it too. And I love that kid, Gat Matarazzo, seems like a really good kid. So. And not a kid; he's probably like 30 now, for all we know. But
Yeah.
Stranger Things has been around for a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah. But yeah, it's cool. So I look forward to seeing more and checking that one out to close out summer. But next we have a rumor, and this has been following a series of rumors. Last week we tackled the rumor about Dakota Johnson, and I don't think either one of us thought that rumor was real, that she's going to be in Starfighter. And now from the same source, this Daniel RPK, which Forbes picked up, a lot of people started running with
Slow
this.
news day.
And the reason they're running with it is because it's Obi-Wan freaking Kenobi, and people can't get enough of Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. So now the latest is that season 2 of Obi-Wan Kenobi is in development, which would have it probably set to be a couple years out at this point, which would put 5 years in between Obi-Wan season 1 and season 2. This rumor doesn't embellish beyond that. It literally only says, according to all these other reports that are covering it, that it's just season 2 in development. Doesn't say anything about Deborah Chow. Doesn't say anything about any returning cast. It's really just Obi-Wan season 2 in development. Lacey, throw it to you. Are you buying this rumor? Do you think this is happening? And not whether or not there will be more Obi-Wan, but that it's in development right now, season 2 for Disney Plus. What are your thoughts on this rumor?
No, absolutely not. No way. I think if I was kind of pulling apart what this rumor is, I would say that Ewan McGregor was on set at AHSOKA recording scenes with Hayden and Rosario and whoever for Clone Wars stuff. And someone saw him on set and assumed, hey, he must be coming back. They must be, and then it gets stretched into like, oh, they're doing more Obi-Wan because here he is being Obi-Wan. But I think he's just going to be Obi-Wan in AHSOKA.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how they do another season of Obi-Wan Kenobi. We've talked about it previously of, oh, well, they could explore, Vader and Obi-Wan on their own, but then they never cross paths again because already it's getting a little muddy as you lead into A New Hope. That you're just going to impact that story too much that lines won't make sense anymore, and then it will just be too confusing. And like, I get it. I saw people's reactions online to this being like, I love fan service. I don't care. Give me Ewan as Obi-Wan as much as you want. I just want it. And that's a fine opinion to have. I love Ewan as Obi-Wan. I look forward to him being in Ahsoka because I really do think he's going to return as Ahsoka. I think he's going to be the big surprise because they've said Hayden is already coming back. So I think with Ewan talking about Comic-Cons for panels being like, I'd love to wear the armor from Clone Wars. I think it's because he's going to wear the armor for Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I love Obi-Wan too. I thought the Obi-Wan series was fine. It wasn't my favorite, but it wasn't terrible either. It had its moments that were like really nice. I think we all agree that the volume impacted how good it was and it not being shot on location like an Andor. But yeah, I don't see where they go from here to do a season 2. And look, if they make it, am I going to watch it? Yes, of course I am. And I'm probably going to like it. But I don't see how that story is going to be told because it just gets so close to A New Hope. And he has to age like how much in that time frame?
Yeah. I mean, there's 9 years in between the Obi-Wan series and A New Hope. And
that desert is rough.
Oh, man.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Also for Beru. Beru.
Oh yeah.
Beru aged hard.
No moisturizer on that moisture farm.
Yeah, like Beru was being Rambo a little too much in the 9 years between Obi-Wan and A New Hope, I guess. But like they made Beru way too much of a badass in Obi-Wan. I'm sorry, that was a little.
They
crazy.
went a little hard.
Yeah, like in A New Hope, she's like dicing up lettuce. She's like making lunch. He's not a farmer, Owen. He's got too much of his father in him.
Just juicing.
Yeah, she's just juicing with her little denim jacket, and then they're like 9 years later. She's like, "Get down."
Makes no sense. Maybe once Luke hit a certain age, they were like, "Yeah, whatever.
We don't want to influence him to explore his violent ways." Dun 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 dun. Get down. Come with me if you want to live. Peru 2, Judgment Day. But I don't buy this rumor either. I don't. It's like the line from Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park. To be timely about it and topical, but just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I know it's so tempting to be like, well, Ewan wants to come back and everyone loves Obi-Wan. It's like, but now it is getting a bit ridiculous where even the Obi-Wan series, I was like, I did a whole article about like what they can and can't do based on what's said in A New Hope, and even that they subverted all that now, and it's like you add more to it. Like, what do you do? Like, I remember like one of us a while back was like, oh, you could do Maul. It was either like you or James had brought it up, like, well, you can make Maul come in and have him be the villain for season 2. I'm like, well, that's the only way they could do it and make it match the Vader spectacle. If you do live action Maul Obi-Wan, you could still do the Rebels one later. That I would buy, which would then negate our answers about him showing up in.
I'm saying no to
live
everything
action.
today.
Yeah, but I don't. I don't. We need to practice some reservation with the use of this character in this timeline. I think he is 100% appearing in Ahsoka. I'll say completely laminate that prediction, lock it in. He will be there. 100% flashback. That episode will be the highest viewed episode of Ahsoka season 2, potentially highest viewed of that entire series. So Disney will love that. So that is a lock, 100% happening. Expect it. Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor, flashback, Clone Wars, in Ahsoka season 2.
I think so too. Yeah.
But I don't believe this rumor. I don't think this is happening. We're already seeing even projects that aren't in development that were officially announced, like Lando, pulled from Disney Plus series to be repositioned as a movie. Disney's doing this with a lot of other properties too. We saw it with Moana. I didn't love the Obi-Wan series. I think maybe they could have made some different decisions in terms of how they told that story and also how they executed it. I still enjoyed it. I loved that last episode. I thought it was a 10 out of 10. But a lot of it was murky for me. And then if you try to add a story here, you can't get him hanging out with Luke too much, because then that gets a little crazy. And then what do? You take him? You can't take him off planet because this whole thing is he's got to be watching this kid now, especially now that the Empire went there. Like the Inquisitor was there at Lars' homestead, and the kid's last name happens to still be Skywalker on his SAT forms. So it's like Obi-Wan has to stick around. So there's not much they can do. And even Liam Neeson, he would have had to have been a bigger part of season 2 to teach Obi-Wan how to become one with the Force. And he said, it's too much. I came back because Ewan wanted me to come back. I think it would be really bad if I came back again. I'm not doing any more. So he's out. I just don't see how it makes sense. The only reason they would do it is because bankability and because fans love Obi-Wan and love Ewan McGregor. And if those are the top reasons, it's not enough to do it. So
it gets messy.
I don't believe this rumor at all. I do not think there's an Obi-Wan season 2 in development. There may be an idea that is pretty obvious, do we do another season written somewhere? But I don't think they're developing a season 2 of Obi-Wan right now. And even if the first season was 95% Rotten Tomatoes audience and critics, I still am not entirely sure that they would do a season 2 of it. And that wasn't the reception of it. So I think this is bunk. I am not buying this rumor at all. So just when you see these things, especially when these big outlets like Forbes start running with it, this is why I have such a problem with it, is because then your casuals like my brother or, other people in your life, if you're listening to this podcast right now, you have that family member or that friend who's like, oh yeah, I like Star Wars. And they're going to hear oh, you hear they're doing Obi-Wan 2? You're going to be this weekend. You listening to this, you're going to be at a 4th of July barbecue, and your friend or family member who knows you're the Star Wars person in the family, they're going to be like, hey, I heard Obi-Wan, they're doing Obi-Wan 2. And you're going to have to be like, nah, they're not. That's not a real rumor.
Not only that, a lot of these people, I don't know if this is a full-time Forbes writer. A lot of these people are freelance now, and they just write whatever they can to just, you know what I mean? They're not on.
No, yeah, the
staff.
whole thing is.
Yeah.
The whole industry is just.
So it gets messy because people report on tweets and random comments.
I know.
And,
the steam that it gains is crazy. Yeah, it's nuts. So yeah, I am not buying this one either. We're saying no. Obi-Wan season 2 is not in development right now. Anyway, no,
it's a big negative.
Yeah. All right, this last one here. Ahsoka. We just talked about Ahsoka season 2. Well, we have Shin Hati herself, maybe the most popular social media clip of Ahsoka was her riding the small land speeder with a cigarette. Remember that?
It was. Yeah, that was so sick.
So we have Ivanna Sakhno, and she was asked about it, and she said they're right in the middle of filming right now, and it's going to be bigger and even more in depth, and she's really excited for people to see it. So not a lot to pull from this, but Lacey, anything that you wanted to take away from this? I don't think she even, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think she addressed Ray Stevenson and the recast in this.
She did not. She just talked about how she can't talk much about it and that she's super excited, can't wait for people to see it. And then she went on to talk about stunt work because she did do stunt work with Megan.
Yeah.
Oh,
right. Yeah.
And just like how both things have gotten her into a lot of like Tai Chi and different types of fighting and whatnot, and that she looks forward to the next season of Ahsoka coming out. It's not a lot. She doesn't want to get in trouble, so I'm not surprised. But it is nice to hear her talking about it because anytime as a Star Wars fan, when something's in production, it makes you feel a little bit easier. It makes you sigh like, oh, it's moving. It's happening.
Yeah.
Which we already knew it was. But yeah, I can't wait to see her back again. I'm interested to see where her character goes from where we saw her in season 1. Because she was definitely, I would say, the biggest fan favorite from that show to come out of it.
Oh, no. Oh, what a Balin Skull.
Balin was great, but I don't think I think the pair of them people loved, but I think she inspired probably more memes and fan art and all these other, because she's just like that type of like moody, young, cute little bob haircut character that people can easily kind of cosplay and whatnot.
Yeah, true. Yeah, there's really not much here at all. But yeah, the fact that they are in the middle of filming it is exciting. They're in, I believe did they film season 1 in Manhattan Beach? Did they do that one in LA?
This one, I believe they're shooting in London, right?
They're in Pinewood? The UK, this one. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, because they started shooting right after Celebration.
Yeah, and hearing her also say it's bigger and stuff like that, I think there is an ear to the ground with Lucasfilm and understanding that they're, hearing the critiques even of the Ahsoka series about the volume and some of its limitations, and also hearing, I realized they already had the production schedule and locations and everything planned out, but hearing the reception for Andor and people saying like, wow, those locations, it's amazing. And Andor
and it's not Southern California like Mandalorian.
Right. Or the Obi-Wan, some of the scenes in Obi-Wan. Yeah. But yeah, I think this is exciting. It does make me sad to think now about Ray Stevenson and really how good he was as Balin Skull. And, when I rewatch that, it's going to be tough because, we're going to hand the keys over to, Rory from Game of Thrones. But I am excited for Ahsoka, but I'm excited they're filming it, and it sounds like we're going to get more of Shin Hati, but maybe a larger role. And who knows? I think there was also like sort of like flirting with the idea of her turning because Balin sort of like ditched her. So
she did get ditched, yeah.
I could totally see her doing a face turn here. We'll see. But nonetheless, we'll see next year. But it's cool that we got a little check in there from one of the new baddies in the galaxy far, far away. Yeah,
she could start teaming up with Ahsoka and Sabine, which would be an interesting dynamic.
That would be cool. Yeah. But yeah, not much more to it. Slow news, but we do have some cool questions we're going to get into with you all in Ask the Resistance.
I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
You've got Star Wars questions.
Oh, she's going to do it. Okay.
We've got some pretty good Star Wars answers, hopefully. All right. So kicking it off, this is from Twitter and Blue Sky, actually. Is Mike Ramori at Drum Jedi? What up, man? He said, are you planning on visiting the Lucasfilm or the Lucas Museum in LA during Celebration in 2027 or making the trip to Anaheim to go to Disney? John.
We haven't really, we haven't, we're still getting over our recent trips. So we haven't talked about any of our plans for 2027. I would love to go to that museum. I imagine it's going to be very difficult to get in. I have no idea if it's not, but like, who knows? Maybe George Lucas makes it very easy for people to access it. I don't know anything about it. I don't know details on how to get in there, but I would love to go. I would absolutely love to have a chance to be there. We have not talked about Disney. Not sure if that's going to be on the table or not to this trip because it is going to be in LA, not Anaheim. And the way these trips go sometimes, there's not much breathing room. So,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
Anaheim is what, 35, 45 minutes away from LA. So,
yeah,
there have been rumblings of things that we're already planning for LA, and I'm sure we're not the only ones that have already started just because we said 2 years ago, like, I guess we're going to Japan, and then it came faster than we could have ever imagined, and we were on
yeah.
a plane going. So, it's gonna come quick. I would love to go to the Lucas Museum. I saw a video about the garden that it has on, like, the roof the other
Hmm.
day. It looks stunning and beautiful, and, I can't wait to see what they have in store there. I've definitely been keeping tabs on the Lucas Museum and how I can go. So I could definitely see us going to that there. Like John just said, I don't know if we'd make the trip to Disney. There would have to be an event or a reason to go. They might do a Star Wars night or something, but again, it's like 45 minutes away. It's not like you're walking
Yeah,
like we were last time, like 10-minute walk or jump on the bus and you're there.
yeah.
So I would say Lucas Museum over
Me
Anaheim.
too. Yeah, yeah.
Next is Phil at Mudhorn_Phil. What up, Phil? He said, does Carson Teva deserve his own show or at least second billing in one of the upcoming shows or movies? John.
No, I don't think Carson Teva deserves his own show or second billing. He's a great supporting character in Star Wars. I think sometimes you like there's a new trend over the past few years or so where it's like we love a new character and we got them in small bits, so we're like we need more of it, and we live in this world where we're like more, 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 more. We're like Veruca Salt. It's like I need more.
And people move on really quick. Like the churn for not social media, but for like streaming platforms and content and the instant gratification of like watching something and then binging it and quickly moving on is not good.
Yeah,
'Cause it's not letting people sit with things, it's not letting people, and it's also teaching these streaming organizations and networks that they don't have to produce quality content because people will just binge it and move on. In fact, some of the stories we've talked about on Nerdy and Nice, is about Netflix executives saying like, "Oh, you don't have to make something amazing, just something that people will put on while they're scrolling on their phones." Like, I
yeah,
don't
almost
think that's how people should be taking in art or shows or movies. And I'm not to say
deliberately.
I'm not to say that I don't do that because I am definitely guilty of it, but I don't know if I would plan for a show to be taken in that way.
Yeah, and characters get popular, and it's like I think about a good example is Agatha from WandaVision, and then she gets her series, and that all went down. I checked out after a few episodes. It wasn't made for me. I felt like so,
I only
and
saw the
that's
first
fine.
episode. I didn't stick
Yeah,
with it.
I think I saw. Yeah, maybe I saw one or two. I don't know, but my point is, Carson Teva is a great character. Paul Sun Young Lee is awesome. We've had him on the show. One of the nicest people
I love
to
Paul.
come out of Star Wars. Great guy. I'm rooting for him. But objectively, looking at the character, I don't see how Carson Teva gets his own show. I mean, we were just talking about Obi-Wan's probably not getting a second season, so I don't think Carson Tava's getting a show on Disney Plus. And second billing, like what would that be? The closest would be if they did the Rangers of the New Republic thing.
That's what I was gonna say is, like, they were gonna do
But
that, and I think he was the one of the crew on that show.
but I don't even think he would be second billing on that. You'd have Bill Burr, you'd have other people probably ahead of him on that one on the call sheet. So I want to see more Carson Teva. I hope he's in The Mandalorian and Grogu. I hope he's in a lot of things that are coming up because I think Paul Sung Young Lee is amazing, and I'm always rooting for him. And it's a cool character. It is a unique character in that current timeline of Star Wars. But I just don't think realistically it's a character that's going to get their own show. It's like I even thought retrospectively Boba Fett probably shouldn't have gotten his own show because he works better as a side character. So I don't think Carson Teva stacks up to Boba Fett. So that's where I'm at. Lacey, what do you think?
I stand by what I said years and years ago of Boba Fett having his own show is kind of silly. Like, he's not supposed to be a main character. I get
Yeah.
that there's a huge passionate audience for Boba Fett, but I still don't understand it. I enjoyed the series, but I don't understand why that was needed. That being said, does Carson Teva deserve his own show? I don't think so, because he's part of a team. He shines when he's a part of a bigger piece of a puzzle, like a bigger plot, a bigger scheme, a bigger plan. That's why it was so fun to see him keep showing up, kind of like John Ratzenberger in Pixar movies, where he keeps showing up in these
Yeah.
series and
Yeah.
moments and stuff, because he is that shining beacon of hope, and that is who Paul is, also, not just Carson Teva. Away from Star Wars, selfishly, I would love to see Paul come back and do Kim's Convenience and finish that series the way it should have been finished.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I don't think
definitely.
it didn't get its final season. And the creators were just like, we're good. And the story kind of was left on this cliffhanger, and I would love to see more of that. And I hope, there's been rumblings like, will Netflix eventually pick it up? And I know he's busy with Avatar, so who knows? But I would love to see that before this, to be completely selfish. And if Paul watches this, Paul, I would love to see you do Kim's Convenience and finish that show the way it deserves to be finished before Carson Teva gets his own show. That being said, I do think Rangers of the New Republic was he was a piece of that big A-team kind of setup with, Gina Carano was probably on it, Bill Burr, him, and a couple other people making this big kind of A-team situation.
Maybe they like pull Zeb over there. Yeah, I mean they could have done a lot of
Yeah,
things.
there was a lot of things that I think were going to happen with that series that when it fell through, I was like, oh my gosh, this was kind of probably Paul's series for him. Now
Yeah.
they've sprinkled him in elsewhere, and I think that's awesome. And we'll probably see more of him, especially in the Mandalorian Grogu movie. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that character deserves his own show. I just
Yeah.
don't think that fighter pilots in general deserve their own show. I think fighter pilots and teams like even Poe Dameron, I think they work best on the team. I wouldn't want
Yeah.
to watch a Poe Dameron show, being honest. But anyway, last but not least, we have Chris Bryant at _Chris Bryant. That's kind of your handle.
I know Chris. So Chris.
Oh, you do? Hi, Chris.
Yes, I've known Chris for a while. I think this is the first time he's ever submitted a question. So hey, Chris.
Oh, that's nice. Well, Chris, it's nice to meet you. I don't know you, but I do now. All right. He asks, if you could change one story arc in all of Star Wars universe, what would it be and why, John?
Man, I thought about this a lot. And the only two that jump out at me are Kylo Ren and Luke Skywalker. And it's like you pick one or the other. And I think I'm going to say Kylo Ren. And there was I was such a fan of that character in Force Awakens. And then I really loved his performance in the second one, but I think they went like what Rian Johnson did, leaning into the potential romance, but then never taking it there. And like I think that ate up so much time of that movie that it took away from Poe and Finn. And it didn't really get there. They like teased and this YA teasing of a romance and will they, won't they sort of thing, and it then ultimately didn't pay off. I just wish they focused more on his individual journey, and there was so much more they could have explored with his thoughts about Luke or his mother. And I feel like focusing him with Rey took that all away, which diminished the emotional value of Leia and Luke in that movie. So as much as I want to say Luke, because how his fate was and all that, you sort of want to see your heroes, especially like I feel like you and I have been talking about this constantly.
Did you see did we talk about what Mark had said about his character recently?
I mean, is your pick Mark? Because I'll let you get to that. I'll wrap up.
No, mine's definitely Kylo. 100%.
Oh, okay. Well, then we can just chat about it because we do have a few minutes.
So Mark recently, because we were just talking about Luke, Mark recently said in an interview or at a Comic-Con, I think it was an interview for that new movie he's in.
Oh, are you talking about his headcanon?
Yes. Did we talk about this? It was
I don't know if we
so
talked about it on the
depressing.
podcast, but oh my God.
So, yeah, I don't think we did either. I think it just because it came out right after an episode and then other stuff came up. So, for those of you that don't know, Mark has been doing interviews for this new movie he's in, Life of Chuck or something like that. And people asked him about, Luke Skywalker if he'd come back. We did talk about that a little bit on the show where he was like, "Nah, I'm good. They've moved on." And someone asked him about basically The Last Jedi and how Luke would have gotten there. And he said that that was one of the things he really kind of had trouble with, was how did a character that loved the Force and loved the idea of the Jedi so much get to a point that he just ditched everything and went to live on his own. And he said, which is wild to me, his headcanon of what happened to Luke is that he took a wife, had a kid, and then the kid killed itself with his own lightsaber. And so and then the wife killed herself. And so he lost everything he cared about, his son or child, and then his wife, so that it drove him to then go into isolation and be a miserable person.
So that
And
when he got the lightsaber from Rey, his first instinct was to throw it away.
right. Just dark, dark, dark.
That is insane.
I mean, it explains, outside of other things, why Mark Hamill would be like sobbing on set. Like, that's so depressing. But that being said, if I was to pick between two different characters, while Luke Skywalker is my childhood hero, I love Mark Hamill. I love everything Luke stands for. I don't like the choices they made with Luke in the sequel trilogy. I still think that those choices played a bigger piece into where the story went. I feel that Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, was the character that I thought I didn't like where the story went. In particular, I don't like that he died. And I stand by that. I'm going back to Lacey in 2018, 2019 right now. I did not like that he died. I still don't like that he died. I have come to terms with it, of like some type of understanding of why they would have killed him off. But at the end of the day, I just can't get there because I feel like Han and Leia both died in the sequel trilogy. The last thing after everything that happened that they would want is that their son to die. Like, they wouldn't have
Basically,
thought all of that for him to die. And it just felt such a cop out. It was like that whole storyline of like him coming in and then not talking in the last third of the movie. All he says is ow. And then he just dies. Like, it just felt wrapped up way too quick.
imagine after he was done filming, and he's like, "Did I ever tell you guys what was what I thought up in my head to make Luke so sad?" And they're like, "What? What?" Like Kathleen Kennedy's like, "What? What would you do?" And he's like, "So," and he explains that whole scenario you just laid out that he told, and he's like, "Yeah, so the kid dies, the mother dies, and then they're like, that's what we're gonna do in the next movie. We're
Oh
gonna
my
kill the
God.
kid. We're gonna kill
Oh
the
my
mother."
God.
And it's like,
I just, you know what I mean? It's so much more hopeful. And like, I'm not even speaking to the romance side of things. Take the romance out of it. The story of the son of Han and Leia that goes terrible, dark, gets redeemed, and then just goes off into the galaxy to live his life wherever is
yeah,
better to me than him just dying, because then everybody's just dead. Luke's dead, Leia's dead, Han's dead, Kylo's dead. So then everybody's dead. Like, it's so not cool to me.
yeah. I mean, when I think about The Last Jedi, it's like like trilogies are so tough because that middle movie is so vital. It's the conflict, it pushes the story, it grows the characters, but you go so quick from movie 1 to movie 3 that you're like, this thing is over. That in The
Yep.
Last Jedi, when I think about that movie, I'm like, what did Kylo Ren do in this movie? I'm thinking, and then I'm
He
like,
learned he had a bigger connection with Rey. I mean, really.
and then I'm like, what did Vader do in The Empire Strikes Back? I'm like, he did a lot. There's a lot of memorable things that Vader did in Empire Strikes Back. And I feel like the focus on the Rey thing ate up so much of this trilogy and didn't end up going anywhere.
Well, that's the other thing, is like, then they went nowhere with it.
But it also it's like they did like the Godfather ending at the end of The Last Jedi where she slams the door on him and all that stuff, and I'm thinking that's over.
Mhm.
So then he gets back in 9 and he's like, I'm bad again. I'm like, all right. And then they
I love how
they-
you're just like, and then I was all right.
all right. And then we bring it back around where he's good again and all that. But when I think about that trilogy, and specifically the early memories of that character, the first trailer where we see him in the woods and he ignites the saber, we're like, whoa, who's this dude? And then we see him in the beginning of The Force Awakens and he cuts down Lor San Tekka and we're like, who is this guy freezing the blaster bolts? Like, this is incredible. Then we get Force Awakens. We're like, all right, he's Han's kid. I can't believe he just killed Han Solo. We are launching this character, this incredible new villain. And then they just take the focus so much and put it on him and Rey that he didn't do anything else in the second movie, if you really think about it. And then all of a sudden you're in the last movie.
And then
And
you're
it's
like,
like-
all right.
Yeah. So it's like, I feel like we didn't get enough time with Kylo Ren and the journey he should have gone on as Han and Leia's kid, dealing with his experience with Luke Skywalker, dealing with his obsession with Vader. It just, there wasn't enough time. Maybe it should have been 4 movies. Like, who cares if it was 4 movies and not a trilogy? Like, they could have given us some more. The Jedi Killer, the Ashes, what is all that? I don't want to see that in a comic book. I want to see Adam Driver doing that stuff. That's why you get that guy. That's why we learned from the stunt coordinator, who we love so much, Eunice Huthart, saying he did all his stunts. He was obsessed. He wanted to do everything. He could have taken that character in so many places. And I just think the focus on him and Rey took too much time that it left everything else flat.
He didn't speak in the third part of the movie.
He didn't see his mother once.
I know. Insane.
So,
Insane.
And
I
look,
think, by the way, that they did have him say things, because even at the end when he's holding Rey, like, his mouth is moving. They're just not playing any noise.
oh yeah, I think they said there were lines.
stuff,
Yeah.
and then they just
Yeah.
cut it. And I was like,
I-
what? This is a weird choice.
And look, you guys, if you're listening to this, if
You
you're a
love
new
it. You love that movie.
yeah. If you're
Yeah.
a new listener, to put it in perspective, I love The Rise of Skywalker. I really enjoy the sequel trilogy. But I think it's okay to point out things like, man, like, you had Adam Driver, you had that cool character. There were so many threads already laid out by the history of that family that they should have put more attention on versus him and this girl and touching fingers and that. But
Even
anyway.
more than that, they should have just had the same person write all 3 instead of doing this like flippy flop hand the baton thing.
That's why they got Simon Kinberg now. He's going to do this
Yeah.
trilogy and we'll see what happens. But
And then I was like, all right.
what?
It's just such
Do
a
I say that a
funny-
lot?
No, it's just such a funny way you were just like, and then they did this, and I was like, all right.
All
like you're
right.
the guy that's like, all right.
All right. Well, I guess that's what we're doing. You got to go with the flow, all right, but that is it. Thank you, Chris, for that question. Thank you, Phil, for your question, and Mike. We appreciate those all so much. Please send in questions. It makes the show so fun, and we love your ideas, and you think of questions that we don't think of, so we appreciate you being a part of the show. So at any point, whether that is Blue Sky, Twitter, or you can even shoot us a question on email, or if you're on Patreon, do it that way. Just use hashtag #AskTheResistance so we know that you're down to be on the show, because big shout outs to those 3 here today. Great questions, and keep sending them in. It doesn't always have to be when we call for them, but we appreciate you being a part of the show. Thank you all so much. And that does take us to the end of the show. So thank you all for listening and watching and being a part of TRB. You are always welcome in the base, however you support us. Thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe to the show on your favorite platform, as Lacey said earlier. Spread the word this weekend. Tell your casual friends, Obi-Wan 2 is not happening. What are you talking about? Where'd you hear this from? It's a lesson learned in checking where your news comes from. That's all I'll say on that. But thank you all so much. Spread the word, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out trbpodcast.com. Check out weirdbrothers.com for our coffee, the Resistance Brew, and our Patreon, as Lacey said before. Join our Patreon. It's a good time. We just did a watch along, like Lacey said, about of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Lacey's first time watching it. It's still on Patreon. You could watch it with us. Just queue it up. It's a good time. check out our Patreon. It's a lot over there that we do, and it's to thank you for your support. And we wouldn't be able to do it without these folks. We got to give a special shout out to the Generals and Spice Runners. We have Carmelo, John Reese, Jetta Rosewater, Frank Grande, Chris Morales, Mike Ramori, Brendan McLaughlin, Sneaky Zebra, Dave Hornack, Colin Cormier, Stephen Garrow, Sachi, and Darth Snips. Thank you, Generals. And the Spice Runners, David Probus, Neil Shaw, Kendall Gellner, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, the Fort Worthian, and Brian Smith. And everyone on our Patreon, everyone who listens, however you support us. Again, thank you so much. Lacey, where can people hit you up to talk about all the stuff we got into today?
People can find me on social media at Lacey Gillerin, on TikTok at It's Lacey Gillerin, and I actually want to tell a bit of a story. So over the past week, my buddy Will was on his way to vacation. Shout out to him. And he stopped in a Wawa in Virginia and was getting a sandwich for lunch. And he was rocking a TRB t-shirt. And the person making his sandwich said, "You listen to the Resistance broadcast? I listen to the Resistance broadcast." And I don't know what that person's name is. So if you're listening right now, thank you so much for being so nice. I wish I could high five you. Also, I am so craving a sandwich right now. So I want to know what everybody's sandwich order is because I'm craving one.
Do we have Wawas around here?
We do not. I think the closest one is like Southern Jersey-ish. Anyway, yeah, like Southern Jersey, like exit 3, like Camden, I think is the closest Wawa. But I don't know what your name is, but I just wanted to thank you so much for being so nice. And just giving us a shout out to my friend Will, who was wearing the shirt because he was like, "Oh, I just wanted to support Lacey and what she's doing." And then was like, "Lacey, I got stopped with this shirt on." So once again, just a really awesome moment. And we appreciate it. And you guys are the best. So thank you so much. Please send us an email, resistancebroadcast@gmail.com, so I can thank you by name. Otherwise, if you don't, that's cool too. And hope you have an awesome day.
That happens to, like, I've heard stories of our listeners saying that, like, people have saw the shirt and was like, "Oh, TRB, like TRB." And, like, that blows my mind, you know? We're a Star Wars podcast. That's so cool. I don't know that that's happened to me, though. Where
I know, I wear it all the time. People are like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Really?" And they're like, "Love it." But I think they think it's, like, government related. Because it's
I don't get comments at all. You get comments? I don't get comments.
I get like nice hat, nice shirt, but I don't think they realize it's Star Wars.
But did you get stopped by TSA for an extra check because you had a Resistance shirt on? That's what I would like to know.
But you did.
I did. I got pulled aside. They probably thought
I was sitting there getting breakfast.
Yeah. They probably thought I was like resisting our government. So TRB shirts are badass. If you want to get pulled aside for an extra check at security, wear your Resistance broadcast shirt as I did. But no, thank you. Whatever your name is, that is really cool. So awesome. Appreciate it. But yeah, thank you all. For me, Johnny Hoey on Blue Sky and X, and Lacey and I will be back with you on Monday after the holiday weekend. Everyone be safe.
Get ready. We're talking Squid Game, and I got thoughts.
We are reviewing season 3, the finale of Squid Game, among other things. We're going to talk about the Running Man trailer, a lot to get into, including the Batman. Might actually be happening, Batman 2. But again, thank you all so much. Enjoy your holiday weekend in the U.S. Enjoy your weekends in general everywhere else. Wherever you are, if you're listening to this, you are part of the Resistance. And from Lacey and I here at TRB. Until next time, we'll see you around, kids.